Hello, thank you for joining me today. And today I will share with you some news. One of the first news is MSU training program uses virtual reality to track unconscious bias. So this news was on WKAR.org, and the news was written by Sophia Saliby. Okay, so Sophia Saliby. Hey, hi, Stefan. Hello, Stefan. Do you want to unmute yourself? Nice to meet you. Hey, finally.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Cool. Yeah, busy week, but glad it's
Yeah.
towards the end of it.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Okay, cool. So do you want to share any news you read, or you just want to, like listen to me? Because I find out three newses. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Do you want to share first? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let me just talk about the news. The first news is MSU training program uses virtual reality to tackle unconscious bias. So pretty much, it is in a campus, and the 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 software is called A Mile in My Shoes. So which means that this VR software wants to put you in somebody else's shoes. So, for example, if in a school campus, I think they are kind of start experiment this VR technique in Michigan State University, and pretty much what it did was when you wear the Oculus headset, you see bunch of avatars, right? For example, like man, woman, black, white, and also different races, and also a handicapped a girl. So if you choose that handicapped girl as an avatar, you will find out that a lot of facilities in Michigan State University was not really friendly to that handicapped girl, because, for example, when that girl, if you use your VR headset and trying to access the school campus, it's really hard for that girl to go to the classroom. So that is a very immersive experience for that software to allow you to be a girl sitting on the wheelchair. So this news is in today's news, and it is on the website called WKAR.org, and the title is MSU training program uses virtual reality to tackle unconscious bias. Yeah, Stefan, do you have any feedback or any thoughts about the news?
Oh, I think that's great. I have some colleagues up at the University of Michigan that I've worked with in the past, and I think they're brilliant folks up there, especially in the linguistics and genomics side of things. It's so cool to hear that they're doing a study on this and producing sound data like that. I mean, just imagine a task like you mentioned the wheelchair bound person, and your task is to like just go to the store, but the store isn't ADA compliant, right? There's no wheelchair ramps, or there's no ways to complete the task at hand, like get the goods you need in order to survive and make it back home properly. We don't. I mean, I have two working legs, and hopefully will for the rest of my life, God willing. But I don't know what that's like to be wheelchair bound. I can't empathize to that level. I can imagine, but I was going to say walking through the experience, but taking myself through that experience, I don't think you can truly understand something until you have gone through it. And I think that's brilliant, talk about just putting yourself in someone else's shoes and really experiencing it, or getting close to experiencing a reality that they face every day. So I'm excited to see if there's any, public applications coming out from it. I think this is great news. Great news. What a great application for it, and so mindful, so thoughtful.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Ellen, do you want to share your thoughts? You can raise your hand, and I can, let you to be on the stage. Do you want to talk about your feedback or anything in your mind you want to share today's news? Sure.
Hey guys, great to meet you. Yeah, you know what, I joined in a little bit late in the conversation, so I've only heard part of what you were referring to. But yeah, as far as my background goes, I'm mostly in AR development, HoloLens and things like that. I only recently got into VR, so I'm just kind of catching up on all the different kind of applications regarding VR and how that goes. So I do apologize. Obviously, just on the topic, I guess, of what I heard as I came in, the application, it sounds pretty phenomenal. I know you never realize what other people go through until obviously you're in that situation. My son broke his foot a while back and he had to have crutches. And so we just never realized how difficult it is to get around until you have to have crutches. And then, even that is a little easier to access certain things. But there were just so many things that we took for granted until that happened, and then realized, wow, this is, this is one of those things you just, look for afterwards. So anyways, yeah, that does sound like a pretty amazing application there. So just my 2 cents.
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Steven, by the way.
Hey, Steven.
So, Dominique, did they have anything that they were talking about in that article about, I think you mentioned cognitive bias, where I'm already predisposed through, my nurturing environmental variables and all that, about potential race relation remediation?
I did read some of the books talking about using VR to put you into someone's shoes. For example, like an interview, right? For example, if you are putting in someone's shoes, for example, if your avatar is a Black woman or different race and it's a woman, and a lot of candidates, they will feel strongly biased, being discriminated just by putting the different color avatar and different gender. So yeah, so this can definitely help us to make ourselves aware of those unconscious bias, and then help us to be more inclusive of different race and genders. Yeah. Cool, Ellen.
That's great. That's such an applicable problem today. I'm glad to see someone's starting to help solve that in a real way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think this is very, very inspiring. The app, we need more app like this. Okay, so another one is in nextgolf.com. Nextgolf.com, and the title is called Pentagon Preps to Experiment with Robotic Surgery, Augmented Reality by 5G. So this article was written by Brandi, Vincent. It's called so pretty much Pentagon is ready to to work on the 5G robotic surgery. So they have different plans, such as 5G enable AR guide medical training, and 5G advanced telehealth information access, 5G telemonitoring by AR, and 5G advanced tailored robotic surgery for medical procedures. Yeah, so those are pretty amazing, and it will integrate AR and machine learning, ML, artificial intelligence, AI, and robotic machine integrate with 5G. So this will enhance a lot of remote surgery or telemedicines. So yeah, so Pentagon is working on this. So any thoughts, any feedback on this more like remote surgery, use AR and 5G?
I think it's brilliant. What a great application. And what I think the real value add there is the 5G inside the headset. Because to me, what that means is they can offload compute to the cloud, giving you less hardware to deal with. And if you can just stream those results, you know, using like a LSA or like an API, then holy cow, you know, your hardware, Dominic, I think we were talking the other week about how annoying some of this hardware is for setup, and it's heavy, and, you know, neck string, and just the experience of the hardware. And part of that is like all of that compute on the device in order to, you know, render XYZ. Or like, you know, some of them in even order to have like, Alan, I think you mentioned you worked on HoloLens or something. Is that tethered still?
No, HoloLens 2 is a self-contained device. But on this topic, it's interesting you guys brought this up. I'm actually working with a client down in San Diego to create a virtual kind of a platform where the doctors can do procedures and train people remotely through VR and AR on medical procedures. And it's interesting because I've been following a couple different technologies. The HoloLens and Azure has a thing called a remote, I think it's AR remote. And also I've been following Omniverse, NVIDIA's Omniverse, and Cloud XR. So it's NVIDIA's kind of getting into the remote collaboration kind of technology. And with Cloud XR, what they do is they use the NVIDIA processors on the back end to actually do all of the processing of content, and they stream the media into the device. So input comes from the device, it goes into the NVIDIA servers, that comes back as a video stream, and that way they're able to show content that's way above anything that the device itself can handle. And again, using 5G and some of the faster bandwidths, that is all possible currently. So it's pretty exciting to kind of see where this technology is heading. But yeah.
Wow, thanks for that. Yeah, I had no idea NVIDIA was stepping in and getting involved.
Definitely. No, it's I think there's a couple other systems out there. I know Microsoft's been pursuing that, but it seems like with the 5G kind of becoming more available, you'll start seeing, like you said, the ability to have content rendered on a remote server or some type of other system. It allows for the wearables to be lighter because you don't have to worry so much about processing. So the battery could be smaller, the actual interface could be smaller. You just get a better performance out of it if all the hard work is being done somewhere else. So yeah, it's great stuff.
Cool. Thank you, Stefan and Alan share a lot of your knowledge about the news, and I think that 5G will definitely helps all the hardware, software connect more seamlessly, and especially something similar to self-driving cars or surgery. Those stuff, if you have 1 second delay, someone might die, right? So I think 5G will definitely accelerate those advanced technology. Another news is in prnewswire.com. The title is called Los Angeles Tech Startup is using augmented reality to preserve LA's invisible history. So this news is written by, I think, provided by ReplayAR. So pretty much the whole concept is doing time travel. We all know that time travel, right? So you can be in pretty much, you can look at a lot of historical moment in around LA, and then you use your phone and panning around the your environment, and you can see a lot of different videos or photos. All photos will overlay on top of what you are looking for. So I think this is a very interesting concept, and they said that it's pretty much Instagram meets Pokemon Go. Right, Instagram, we know we swipe and we kind of look at other people's photo, but Pokemon Go is that, in our surroundings, we see a lot of little monsters spawning in different places. So Instagram, pretty much instead of spawning a lot of monsters, it's spawning a lot of different old photos or old videos. And later on, I think they say they just raised 350K to expand this concept, the time travel, time capsule concept, which later on they will, I think they've already built another software which allows everyone to capture the moment, maybe inside their house or, in different parties, in different meetings. You can take your historical moment, or you can put some old photos on top of the reality. So when you download the app, when people scanning around the house, they can see maybe, old grandpa sitting on the chair, right? And when like some family member were young and they sit on the floor, and when you pan over that, you can see the photo overlay on top of that floor. So I think that will really enhance our reality, and I really like the concept. And before, I think a few days ago, I read the news from Facebook Research Lab. They were talking about their future AR glass, Facebook AR glass. They pretty much separate the reality into 3 different stages. The first one is called physical location. The second one will be more like an index, or like, some physical object located on the physical location, like some objects. And the third one will be the content. So I think those will definitely enhance the different layers of our reality. So what do you think, Stefan and Alan? Do you have any feedback for ReplayAR's AR time capsule on this app?
Yeah, I have a couple comments on that. I think it's awesome. I've been looking also recently into using point cloud technology. So I know there's been a little bit of research done in preserving point cloud data as kind of a historical component as well. So in other words, taking a photo of just pixels of what's in front of you, the point cloud will actually be able to take kind of a 3D version of that and then preserve that for a future reference. So I guess the idea is that you can take a point cloud photo, so to speak, save that, and in the future with the VR, you can kind of walk back into that photo and see how everything was exactly at that point in time. Now, I am sure the technology has to grow significantly before that becomes, everyday use, but it is a really, really fascinating concept. If you think about like the future, what would a photograph's been around for a long time, but what would be the next step in a photograph? And that would be to actually walk through an environment as it was, in the past. The other thing is, I thought about this a long time ago when we were visiting a couple of historical sites. So I was traveling up the coast, and you're right with the hidden history. Like there's so much history out there that people just don't see because it's all been changed or modified since. The ability to have something virtually overlaid on top of you to show you what used to exist here. It's pretty phenomenal to me to go to one of these historical sites and then be able to kind of reconstruct virtually what used to be. And with geospace, spatial kind of technology, knowing where I'm standing at one point in time, and then being able to take virtual content and lay that over, and kind of reference it, that again is pretty magical as well. But that all comes down to content, people being able to create the content, because a lot of that doesn't necessarily exist except for only in photos. But I love the idea. I think it's really, really cool.
Same. I'll just add to that. I spend a lot of time in nature and running and cycling and stuff, and I'll come across random sites, abandoned buildings, or somewhere like in mining shafts. I'm on the west coast and through the hills. There's still a lot of mining residue. I'm like, what the heck happened here? What was this spot about? Or when you look out and think, I wonder what our great ancestors saw before all of the build-up. So to have that virtual timeline where I can just scrub through and see what this looked like before we got here, and then to see the change over time. That's so cool. One of the things also, Pokemon Go was so successful in getting people out, like getting people active and to do things. And we saw an uptick in community engagement with it. And I think there's something really wholesome there as well. Not just for the knowledge aspect for the self, but also to it's kind of collaborative. It's kind of I shouldn't say collaborative, but it has a social engagement element as well. So that's just my 2 cents. I think it's pretty cool. Or if you could hold up your phone to San Francisco Gate Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and it disappears in front of you, and you can press play and you can watch it be built out over time, and touch on certain points and see this was so and so, and here's the architect, and here's how many tons of concrete and steel it cost in order to blah blah blah. The educational element for it as well. It's almost like you can those big heavy history books that we carried around as kids can just be interactive now in a way. But again, of course, you have to, like Alan was mentioning, go to those specific points, those geolocations. Cool stuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny, I was mentioning the trip we took about a year or 2 ago up the coast. So I live in Orange County, LA here. And we went up to San Francisco, but on the way there, it's a beautiful area up that way. But I was thinking, almost the entire way, it's there's a lot of historical sites here, and of course there are some that are very obvious because they're pointed out. But there's a lot of areas there where there's probably history that you just don't see. And I thought even as I was driving, even an auditory, some type of app where just an audio peak component that pops up and says, hey, you're located here right now according to the geo, but off to the left here, this is where they developed, so these lands were used for whatever, and kind of just giving you historical information as you kind of go along. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be visual stuff, but yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of different applications there, I suppose.
It reminds me of when you go through a museum and you have the audio guided tours. I mean, why can't our Earth be a museum?
Exactly, yeah. And I hate kind of throwing in advertisements and stuff, but I do realize people have to pay for this stuff, creating this stuff. But I mean, you could theoretically just make that an application where there is some type of advertisement, some type of way to monetize at least the development of it. But yeah, no, it's great to. And again, as I was traveling, I was telling my son some of the stuff that I knew, because I knew earlier that some of the beaches up in Santa Barbara actually used to be stops for pirates that were kind of along the coast, and they would come up in, and there was stories about how they would come up and hide some of their treasure. in some locations like that. So I would tell him the same thing as I was traveling. It's like, oh yeah, over there, there's Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's where they launched rockets. And this is a beach where there were pirates at one point. And I thought, well, it'd be great if somebody could tell me some stuff that I don't know as well. But yeah, again, like I said, you know, the content has to be built. Somebody has to pay for that. And, you know, it's always...
Yeah, thank you, Alan, Stefan. You guys, you know, like feedback, and then yeah. So that those are today's 3 news. And do you have any news that you want to share or any feedback? Yeah, anything? Any news?
Yeah, for me, not a ton. I think I'm following similar stories to what you just brought up there, but yeah, like I mentioned before, the NVIDIA stuff is pretty interesting if you kind of follow what they're doing. They're trying to kind of take on the collaborative approach to things. So the Omniverse, I guess, selection of tools that they have are kind of geared towards now moving into like real-time interaction. And I've actually played around with a lot of their samples. They have this really great real-time rendering where you can kind of from different locations on the planet go in and actually work on whether it's architectural, 3D CAD, whatever it happens to be, all in real time. So yeah, I mean, I love that because I definitely think that is the future. Of course, AR, VR, that's all the future as well. But the ability to kind of just everybody get together and work on one common idea, no matter where you're located, is definitely cool. And again, I don't know if you guys have played around with it, but spatial I/O is kind of cool too. The ability to kind of jump in a virtual environment and talk or collaborate on a central theme is pretty neat too. So I don't know if you guys have played around with spatial I/O, but it's pretty cool.
You know, I did a couple of months ago, I think maybe in September, I want to say, of last year. Now I'd assume they've updated it since. I'll have to check it out again.
Yeah, it's I thought it was you know, it's funny when I see these platforms, like there's a certain amount that you realize it definitely is going to get better. So, you know, some of the stuff I look at it and go, well, that's kind of clunky and, you know, maybe this doesn't work, but you see where it's going. That's kind of the important part is it won't be very much time at all before it's maybe kind of how people interact in general. So, and that's kind of what I found in technology in general is that it happens slowly, but it happens quick. Like it's just one of those things where we're waiting for it, and then all of a sudden it's just there. And for me, I've been in augmented reality since 2009. So believe me, I've been waiting a long time for this to become relevant to everybody. But yeah, I think in 2009, General Electric had a sample of augmented reality working on Flash through a browser. And yeah, I was hooked ever since then. So yeah, but it's all happening. But it's just interesting to see how it comes together. So.
Yeah, as for Spatial.io, I remember last year I got a chance to join Charlie Fink's. You know, he launched a new book called something like collaboration, something like in the future or meetings in the future. I forgot the book name. It's his 3rd book. And then I kind of joined one of the workshop of like his book launch. And one of the place we met was in Spatial.io. And then I think Spatial.io, I forgot is Spatial.io or Author, ARTHUR. I think those are definitely really interesting. And I have to take a photo of myself, right? Like my face, and they will turn my face into a really awkward 3D avatar. I know, like it's a little weird because it's trying to mapping my 2D photo into 3D. And when I was there, maybe last year it didn't really finalize, but you can still see like they are trying to accomplish a lot of stuff. For example, like putting some stuff and trying to make it like a really nice conference room. Yeah, so that and you can hear some people saying, and you can trying to teleporting and trying to probably join something, right? Like it's just initial. And then Arthur, I've been there, but I think those are pretty similar. But I remember a few days ago, I read a news that Arthur was doing something pretty cool. First, they allow more people to join. I forgot how many hundred of people, but they have another upgrade pro version which allows a big conference. And the second one is that they had like a certain area which has a lot of blue bubbles. It's kind of like teleporting, or the quiet room. So if, for example, if in a big conference room and you kind of want to talk with somebody privately, you can go with that person and go into that blue or weird kind of teleporting area, like a phone booth, and then two of you guys can join in that that booth. And then inside is a private service, so whatever you guys communicate, like the dialogue or the conversation is, nobody outside can hear it. So I think that is a very interesting thing that right now all the remote conferencing platforms are kind of start improving itself. And maybe in the future, if the COVID is still like coming back, then we probably will start our own business meeting or anything in that virtual space. Yeah, so yeah, what do you guys think that?
Yeah, I think I'll definitely have to take a look at Author. I haven't seen that one, so I'll take a look at that as well. But yeah, I think it's interesting because I think even COVID, as terrible as it is, I think it's for the most part kickstarting a lot of ideas and acceptance of things that we didn't necessarily do a ton of in the past. And I know even at my company right now, they were very reluctant to have people go into work. To have people not work from home. they wanted everybody in the office. And then since COVID, we've obviously been working from home. But now there's actually a move to a different building, actually a smaller location, and have the developers working from home more, just coming into the office when necessary. We work on quite a few military contracts, so some people actually are forced to go in just for security. But yeah, it's definitely kind of changed people's perception of what that means to work remotely or to do that. So some of these the applications or programs like Spatial IO and Author, like it's just the entry into what this may look like in the future, I think. And I think when it's necessary, then we'll have to have virtual conferences or virtual meetings, and when it's also necessary, we might have to meet in person as well. It's always great to have the option, because I'm kind of old-fashioned. I do like to go to places physically, like AWE. I'm looking forward to going to that again in person. But I do like the idea of, like, when I'm too busy and I can't travel, like, to be able to go into a virtual environment, kind of experience the same stuff without the hassle of traveling on the plane, or going through all the hotel stuff. So yeah, I just again, my point is that you have to test out these ideas with the avatar. You were mentioning taking a picture of yourself. I still, Spatial IO, I still hate the picture that I take. I've tried it like 10 times. It still makes me look really weird. and also when you're interacting with people, the mouth moves, and it's a little creepy kind of. But I know they're trying to work it into making it a little more realistic. But yeah, it's going to take a little time to kind of work out all the little bugs, and then test out a lot of the stuff that we're looking at now. Like, it hasn't really necessarily been done before. So the question is, well, how do we do it, and how do we make it less creepy or less effective? And so a lot of it's just testing to see what people think, and and go from there. So I know just recently the mall that we're close to over here, they tried out the security robots. They had the security robots kind of roaming around the mall. And as effective as they were, they had to get rid of them because people were just freaked out by them. They said people didn't like it because it was just weird. And so that might be the future, but you have to kind of integrate this stuff slowly so that people get used to it somehow. So, anyways.
That brings up such a good point with Google Glass. You know, how many people, it was so early that, and you spoke about the uncanny valley of humanoids, right, in virtual space, and how creepy they can be. You know, there is that threshold, and how do we how do we normalize it, and how do we kind of reduce that that dip into the valley where people would get scared and say, oh, I don't want to use this anymore. Because there's some great advantages to the tech. I mean, it helps us, like you mentioned, still collaborate during the pandemic. It is missing something, though. There is an isness that needs to happen within that. I don't know, it just hasn't clicked, and I don't know if it's like real-time body language or maybe even, you know, biochemistry comes into play, the hidden variables of pheromones or body chemistry or whatever. We are stepping in the right direction. I think there's a normalization that still needs to happen. And how also do we mix the environments? You know, say Alan and Dominique want to work from the office, but I'm still at home and I need to teleport in, for instance. How do you have me in the same room in real time and treat me as like a virtual but physical equal, if that makes any sense whatsoever. One thing that, Dom, you brought up was kind of like note passing in the meetings. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen Get Smart. I'm sure you have. The cone of silence, like where you Alan, does this ring a bell?
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's like two people go into the cone of silence now. You know, it's not just for one person, it's for two people, and you can talk amongst yourself and have a little coffee, I guess. And then, you know, the cone of silence goes away. That's immediately where my head went. And I think it's great because, you know, you do want to have those sidebars during large meetings. And texting is one thing. You know, how many of us have our phones out as we're still present and texting other members of the meeting about, you know, oh, how should we respond to this? And you know, it's just something that happens during meetings. And how do we still retain that sidebar, I called it note passing earlier, but still be able to focus on, you know, the larger meeting at hand. I think that's a nice problem that they've identified and have a solution to present, at least to test out, because you guys are right. This is new territory. We don't know exactly what works, and part of experience design is just failing. So throw something out there, see what doesn't work, and at least you're one step closer to what does.
Definitely. Yeah, the other thing too, as strange as this sounds, we're kind of limited to what's available to us. So we're limited by hardware, the devices, what the devices can do. We're limited by software, what those things. So when this new technology comes out, it's readily available to kind of everybody, then that's when we start using it, start combining things together to make, you know, the actions better. But there's actually a lot of new technology coming out that it sounds very sci-fi, but I think it could actually be available fairly soon. And I know that the one that I saw recently, which I was amazed by, was the contact lens, the smart contact lens. I'm forgetting the name of the company, but I watched their presentation, and just how far they are along in the actual reality of that happening. And there's quite a few other ones out there as well, but yeah, I mean, I think that's you know, that's kind of the limitation, just figuring out what actually can be done and then how to kind of interact with those things as well. But yeah, I know about the cone of silence that might be a ways away. I would love for that to be there, but I do like your code about being able to combine scenarios. So yeah, like you said, if somebody's remote, but then other people are being live, how do you kind of mix everybody together? And I still think there's a certain amount of technology that needs to be developed to make that easier. But no, it is very interesting.
Yeah, I think all those because right now we are still exploring all the technology in VR, AR, and we are still I feel like even though we've been doing this for a few years, it's not in its infancy, but it's still in its infancy. It's still not rocking enough for everyone to buy an AR headset. You see, like Apple is still not joining the game. They are trying to develop something, probably launch next year. But you see, like Apple just launched like their AR kit, right? But they are not really, pushing it. I feel like they say they are pushing it, but they still, doing more traditional stuff. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting with Apple because they are very picky about quality of their products, whether you like them or not. They and I think they've done a really good job of making sure that the product they release, is a great one. Like it has a great experience. It does what it's supposed to do. So I know that by submitting apps to Apple, like they're super picky about whether this is a legitimate app or not. And so, yeah, I know that's just the way they are. And also, too, I think, like you mentioned before, Stephen, the Google Glass, it was a great product. I mean, it's just awesome. It solves so many problems. But the reality is that there's other factors out there that make it work or not. And it happened to be the perception of what that product was and who was using it that made it actually fail at the time. So I think Apple's paying attention to that, too. So they're not in a big rush to jump into something, that quickly that could potentially fail for other reasons other than just technology. But yeah, as far as AR kit goes, I do appreciate that these companies are doing it, but also doing it slowly and organically. Because, for example, way back when QR codes first came out, everybody around me was like, oh, we have to do QR codes. We have to do QR codes, the newest, coolest thing. And it was pushed so hard that they become kind of a joke in a way. Because the content wasn't really great where people were being taken. But the thing that people didn't realize is that QR codes have been around for a long time before that and used in other countries where it was just standard everyday stuff. So I don't like that technology is pushed really quickly just because it's cool or because it's the topic of the day. I prefer it all to just grow organically, no matter how long that takes, but be successful someday. So AR has kind of been the same thing. I've seen it obviously for a long time, and my thing is just let it become natural everyday stuff, but not like just overnight, because that's where people get kind of freaked out about things. So I was hoping that, like for example, with the wearables, the fire department would start using it, the police department would start using it, the utility companies, and then people would start seeing that they're being utilized in normal everyday situations. And then now it's available to the public. And so it's just kind of more accepted that way. And that was kind of my hope, is that that's the way that it would progress and not just be thrown out there for everybody to, critique. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Really great points there.
Yeah, very, very insightful. Yeah. Stefan, do you want to say something?
No, I think Alan said some really good, insightful things there. I will second the appreciation for AR Kit and how easy it is to just hop in Xcode and spin up a AR proof of concept in, gosh, it feels like minutes now. All you need is your assets and some direction, and you can get something out the door really quickly, and profound stuff too. But I think we have to see it kind of organically grow, because this is a new medium, in a way. And I think it has a lot of potential. And I say a lot loosely. I mean like a lot of potential. It can shape the way we see reality, right? And this has significant. I work in the cybersecurity space, so think about psyops. How can you then shape someone's reality? How can you protect against that? That can have detrimental effects. If you put something in front of someone's eyes, in front of someone's perception of reality, that can alter it for a bad actor's monetary or information or data gain. We have to do things slowly and methodically, and make sure that what we're doing is helpful rather than harmful overall. So just some side thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Ellen and Stefan, like two of you, like really bring up like the a lot of really good, insightful thoughts and feedback. And thank you so much. I think our time's kind of like just my this I would say the talk we do like a daily Monday to Friday. And by the way, Ellen, if you want to be one of our regular, feel free to. I mean, you have to follow me, and then I will add you to all the events, and so you can just access it if you want. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think I'm following you currently, so
yeah, sure.
I appreciate it. Definitely.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, and then so thank you for Stefan, Ellen joining us today, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.